Hello and welcome to GreenBiz Studio. My name is Dylan Siegler. I'm Vice President and Senior Analyst Sustainability here at GreenBiz Group. And I am excited to have with me Edward Palmieri, Director of Global Sustainability at Meta. Edward, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Dylan. It's great to be here with you.
Great to have you. Before we sort of dive into the subject matter, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Meta.
Yeah, thanks. So I am based in Washington, D.C., part of a global team that has teammates in D.C., New York, California, Dublin, London, Singapore. We are a global team by function, and we aspire to be a global team in the way we build ourselves. And we look after Meta's sustainability portfolio, working not only as a team, but interfacing across the company with a bunch of sustainability focused resources and people across the company to hone and drive our strategy across our entire office and data center footprint. And in the most recent couple of years, expanding that work into using our platform and products to bring people together to discuss and hopefully find solutions for fighting climate change.
You have quite the remit and quite the spread out team. So excited to hear about that. I want to talk about two things today. Meta has committed to becoming net zero by 2030, like many leading companies. And then, unlike many leading companies, you've also committed to become water positive by 2030.
Yes.
Will you talk a little bit about what both of those goals mean for the company, and then specifically how you arrived at water positivity as a goal?
Yes, happy to. We're excited about both those goals. So for the last bunch of years, we've been working on our renewable energy portfolio. Being lucky at a larger corporation, we have an energy team that is exclusively focused on procuring renewable energy in the grids where we operate for our offices and data centers. And because of that amazing renewable energy portfolio work, we've seen that we were able to greatly reduce our scope 1 and 2 carbon emissions. And as we started analyzing that and finding ways to go after the remaining bits of carbon, we realized we were in striking distance of getting net zero for our direct operations. And we actually achieved that in 2020. But realizing that a lot of that work had been done, we wanted to set a new ambition. And like many companies, the next frontier of your carbon journey is your value chain. And so we set a 2030 goal to decarbonize our value chain that's rooted in reductions first. So we really want to focus on reducing the carbon intensity and the sources of carbon throughout our value chain, partnering across the company to roadmap that out and do that by 2030. We know that we won't be able to completely eliminate all the carbon in our value chain. So we are building capacity to do carbon removal as well, mostly nature-based right now, but we'll see as the technology evolves. And 2030 is a nice round number. This is the climate decade. So, in addition to trying to mitigate and address and reduce the carbon footprint, and in addition to procuring all of our new renewable energy, another big impact area for us is water and biodiversity and land stewardship. And when thinking about those components, we said, we want to balance and replenish the water that we're using as part of our data center footprint. We have a very efficient data center design. We use less water on average than 80% less water on average than most data centers out there at hyperscale, but we still use water. So we wanted to make sure we were giving back to the communities and the aquifers we were drawing them from. So since 2017, we've started working on water restoration projects, partnering with NGOs and nonprofits at the local and national level, or regional level, depending on where in the world we are. And we started restoring the water that we consume near our data centers. And as we got progress and started working through those goals, we said, water scarcity and insecurity is becoming like a critical issue across the globe, particularly with the drought in the Western United States, for example. We need to do more. So we set a goal to be water positive by 2030, which means we want to restore more water than we consume across all of our data centers and offices by 2030. And the last thing I'll mention about that, Dylan, is that we are analyzing where we consume water and where the greatest needs are like in the western part of the United States. And we're trying to really focus, at least initially, all of our water restoration work in the areas with the most need for to address water insecurity.
Hearing about how you're taking action on this at Meta, I'm curious, you mentioned partnerships, and I just wanted to dig a little bit deeper on that. What partnerships have been key to doing this, both at the regional scale and then as you scale into kind of a more global view?
Yeah, what we've found with water is, I think, for anyone that works in the water space, it's not a new revelation. But as we build out the portfolio, it really reinforced for us that water is such a hyper local and emotional and critical issue for communities. So we knew that when we were partnering with organizations, a lot of times big corporations, we have big global partnerships or national partnerships, and we realized that we needed to partner locally with organizations. And we actually have produced case studies on our website, sustainability.fb.com, that talk about some of the projects we've done. And with those local partnerships, we're able to understand what the communities need most. And also what their relationship is with water and how they think about water in their community. So generally, it's not a one size fits all model at all when it comes to water. Really, it's not that way with many impact areas, but we found that especially with water. And for any company that's looking to put together water programs like this, I think building that partnership at the local level with the folks, we operate in Texas. We have the Texas Water Coalition with organizations in Arizona that are focused on water that we've worked with. We understand where we needed to focus our water stewardship. And importantly, not just from a volumetric perspective and wanting to make sure we're measuring water in a way that the community feels is accurate and correct and accountable, and we're verifying all that, but also in ways that address the broader water insecurity issues that community may be experiencing, beyond just the volumetric drop for drop measurement perspective, but making sure that as part of our program, we're thinking about how can we do right by the community and help them have access to clean, reliable, and safe sources of water. And it's shocking to think, but even in the United States, sometimes that is an issue that needs attention.
Certainly, so important. We're talking about these very terrestrial, very local, very emotional issues, and I want to shift to talk about the metaverse. So while we are all working toward these sustainable outcomes IRL, you've also been thinking about how to take sustainability to the metaverse and what's important for the future as Meta is building the metaverse. So catch us up on this. What's important for us to know about the kinds of impacts that the metaverse is projected to have, and what are you doing about it?
Yeah, thank you. We're really excited just beginning this journey to define what is the metaverse and what will it take to do it sustainably. And we know that we're just one partner in the global effort to build the next generation of like the web and the internet and how we connect online. And there's a bunch of key things that we're keeping at the forefront. One is infrastructure. As we've built the global network of infrastructure that we need to bring our existing services today, we've done so with sustainability front of mind from the very beginning. Going back to 2011, when we built our first data center, we built efficiency from an energy and water perspective into those designs, and we open sourced that design. We've continued to continue to iterate and improve on that. And building that sustainability from the beginning and that infrastructure is what's going to power not only our services today, but the metaverse. And so we're committed to continue to scale all that sustainability work as we're building the infrastructure to bring the metaverse to life. But beyond that, we think there's so much potential in the metaverse to allow people to have really rich, robust experiences without necessarily having to travel or incur some of the carbon that's connected to some of those more traditional ways, IRL, as you say. Not that those things should ever go away or that there's not unique value in those things, but there are ways to augment real life interactions through the metaverse I think can be really powerful and allow people to have sustained strong connection for collaboration that we think could be really powerful. One of the things that we have found already really powerful with our AR/VR products is that it allows people to experience climate change or the climate stories of people from around the world without having to travel there. I remember at one of the COPs that we had an activation at, we had Oculus sets set up, and people could go and they had curated stories that, when you put the headset on, you were like in the canoe with the storyteller or walking along the river with another storyteller and experiencing what their hearts and minds felt about climate change, what their communities were facing, the challenges of the day. And I think some of those storytelling opportunities are just going to get stronger and stronger. And if you bring that to the next level, going beyond just receiving a story, but actually being able to interact with people from around the world, I think that will help bring some unity together in terms of building empathy and hopefully creativity around solutions to fighting climate change. So if it's built correctly, we think it can not only have a direct carbon impact in terms of some of the carbon efficiencies there, but also bring people together in new ways that might not be possible without that kind of technology coming together.
It's really fascinating, and there's just so much positive to anticipate. And so thank you so much for talking with us about it.
I really appreciate your time, and we're really excited about all to come. It's just the beginning of that journey, but I think there's a lot of exciting discussions and debates and benefits and pros and cons to weigh in the future.
Thanks so much, Edward, for joining us today. And thanks everyone for watching this episode of GreenBiz Studio.